So welcome to the Electronic Business Memorandum of Understanding Management Group webinar on Internet of Things. So it's planned to be about a 90-minute webinar. Just on some background so that we're all on the same page, we circulated a small synopsis and brochure, and we cited the ITU definition of Internet of Things, which is the global infrastructure for the information society, enabling advanced services by interconnecting physical and virtual things based on existing and evolving interoperable information and communication technologies. IoT's has an enormous potential within trade facilitation in general, and all four of our organizations, the signatories of the MOU, have been working on this topic either directly or indirectly, and for more or less time. So the objective of this meeting was to be able to share the experiences of each of our organizations to see what has been done and what's yet to be done, and allow each of the organizations to present in about 15 minutes each for each organization the work that they've been doing on Internet of Things. So we'll have, I'm moderating the session, so thank you all for your confidence in that. We'll have first Mr. Dr. Coallier from ISO IEC, and then UNECE UN and CEFACT will present, and then ITU on what they've been doing on IoT. So just first, Mr. Coallier is a professor at the Department of Software and IT Engineering at the École de Technologie Supérieure, which is one of Canada's leading engineering schools, affiliated with the University of Quebec. He was the CIO of the same school between 2010 and 2016, and the founding chair of the ETS's Department of Software and IT Engineering from its creation in 2004 until 2010. I'll let you read the rest of his bio, which we'll put online, but just to mention that he is also the chair of the joint ISO-IEC subcommittee responsible for the elaboration of standards for Internet of Things and related areas, which is the JTC1 SC41. And with that, I'll pass the floor to Mr. Coallier. Would you like me to share your presentation on the screen, or do you prefer that I let you handle the screen?
Yes, if you can pass me the screen, we'll see if it's working well.
Okay, so you just have to click accept. Okay, do you see the message to accept?
Okay. Yes, do you see?
Yes, perfect.
My screen? Okay, so what I will do is I will succinctly go through the activities of JTC1 SC41 and start by giving a short introduction. And a lot of the slides that I have in the presentation, I will leave further for documentation and will be published on the website. First, Internet of Things. This is the ISO and IEC definition that is in our just recently published standard on IoT vocabulary. And we're talking, I mean, all those definitions at the end talk about the same thing, but an infrastructure of interconnected entities, people, system, and information resource together with service would process and react to information from this physical world and from the virtual world. The point I want to make there again, and I think we're all expert in the area, I won't go to the details, we're talking about system and system of systems with a whole series of attributes, evidently network-centric, distributed, data-intensive, a lot of machine-to-machine interface, and some of the systems we're talking about are cyber physical system, which mean with the real-time component, or socio-technical like a smart city. JTC1, I think you're all aware, it's a joint committee of ISO and IEC created in 1987, and it has more than 3,000 published standards and 4,500 registered experts. a lot of subcommittees. Some of them were created at the same time as GTC1. In others, like SC42, artificial intelligence, are not even a year old. And SC41 will be 2 years old in November. Now, the other thing is that with new in IT, we have to get away from a silo type of approach in standardizing IT to a more, I would call, system-oriented approach. And the term I know is used a bit more systematically in the IEC than GTC1, but it's meaning that there's a lot of touch point. The Internet of Things itself is very horizontal from a technological point of view, but also from an application point of view, where there's a lot of different application domain, which means that there's also a lot of different design architectural pattern that are used in their solutions. Now, SC41, as I mentioned, was created in November 2016, and it's incorporated work from previous working groups that were created, some of them as far as 2010. And we had our first plenary in June 2016 in Seoul, Korea. The term of reference, as you can guess, is Internet of Things and related technology, but the twist that was added there, I will come, is that it was created as a system committee, which means that not all the work in IoT in GTC1 is necessarily done in SC41, but SC41 must be used as a focus about where the work will be done inside GTC1 and also ISO and IEC for IoT. So again, some key point about the system committee. It's a bit different, again, from the IEC, which has a very specific and more detailed meaning, but I think the spirit is the same in the principle, working in a collaborative fashion, but maintaining an holistic view about what's being done in the area of its responsibility. As we speak now, there are 18 published standards that are managed by SC41 and 15 active projects. We have 25 participating countries and 9 observing countries and 7 what we call A liaison, which mean SDOs that have an interest and can contribute document and expert in the work of SC41. And there's 1 extra now that's under consideration by GTC1. So I won't go to the detail there about the members. We have 282 experts registered on the IEC system formally, which doesn't include all the experts that are working at the mirror committees and the P members. Another factor that I think everybody's aware here is that since we're speaking about a very complex area covering a large number of technology and application domain, a lot of SDOs that are not de jure, that are more industrial fora or consortium, are involved in the development of standards in this area. Some of those standards are horizontal in nature, others are particular to different application domains. As you can see, some SDOs are active in many areas. So this is part of our strategy. So we need to liaise internally in ISO, IEC, and also GTC1, but we also need to have active liaison with external SDOs, and these are being put in place slowly as we're talking, as we go through. Structure of SC41, actually we have 3 active working groups, and we have also rapporteurs for vocabulary, which is important, but also for use case. And we have 5 active study groups on wearable, 1 that's working on the reference architecture, because I'll talk more about it. Another one looking at societal and human factors. 1 on the integration of IoT and blockchain in collaboration with the ISO TC in this area. And another one that's as a title about system architecture, but based on IoT, but will focus very probably on swarm computing. This is we call a bullseye diagram view about the activities of SC41. You can see you have at the center our framework and foundational standards, then implementation standard, and then application standard. And this is with an interface with all those TCs in ISO and IEC that work in different application domain. An area we put a special emphasis on the area of trustworthiness. That's very important, that cross again all those domains. And you have the area of wearables also, that is also crossing the implementation level and also different type of applications. Foundational standard that are just being published, the first version of our reference architecture, and also the vocabulary. And given that we're dealing with an area that's very dynamic, we started working already on the revision, the second version of our reference architecture. And there's an active study group, a second generation of study group, I would say, that's working in this area. Now, this is a history of all the study group that we had and that we have active. You could see edge computing progress, and we're working with SC38 of GTC1 on cloud computing, who's also having a TR that's looking at the cloud aspect of edge computing. And the two work is done in a coordinated fashion. Trustworthiness, we have now, I should have updated that, 2 active projects in this area on IoT trustworthiness. Collaboration that's in the work with SC27. And also now at the GTC1 level, there's a trust that's been put in place to have a common approach to trustworthiness for IT system. Industrial IoT now, we have a technical report, and I think the new work item have been approved in this area. Real-time IoT, a new work item now that is under consideration. On the use case, there's work now on a work item that will look at networking application. And then you have the wearable work that's continuing. I mentioned the reference architecture and vocabulary that's continuing, and the other also study group that I talked about. This is again a picture of where our standards, we try to put a kind of architectural diagram where the standards are fitting. What I can point to you is you can see on the IoT computing architecture, the TR I mentioned, the study group on swarm computing, and the SC38 TR that's fitting there. And the implementation side is a family of standards that has been published, some with IEEE on IoT identification that are, again, part of the picture there. And on the application side, for the moment, on the consumer IoT, we have all the work that has been done, I would call in the pre-IoT world, on home automation by GTC1 SC25. And there's work to be done. And then we have all those different study groups that are positioned in there. Now, it's coming back to the point that there's other work related to IoT done in GTC1. You have some paths that have been publicly applicable standards, fast track from SDOs, 2 family of standards that are there. One of them that predate a bit the work done by SC41 will be harmonized in the, again, the second iteration of our reference architecture. And these are the DIS. I should have put now that they will be soon published as IS 30118 from OCF. There's a new project in SC27 on security and privacy in IoT. SC29 in Internet of Media Things, looking at application in this area. The SC31 work that I mentioned. The cloud computing and this work that I mentioned from SC38, since IoT system or user of cloud computing. And you have again the work in SC24 on the wearable and mixed augmented reality. So conclude, SC41 has already a substantial portfolio of standard and project because of the work that was done already in its the GTC1 working group 7 and 10. We have already study group that have successfully conclude with the new work item being proposed. Active study group that are looking at new area. And the other point I would like to stress is we're open to collaboration with other SDOs. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Coadier. If everyone agrees, I would suggest that we go through all the presentations first, and then we'll do questions and answers afterwards. And if Mr. Coadier and all of the others agree, we will share the presentations online afterwards. That way we can take a look and get in contact afterwards as well. So thank you very much. I'll pass the floor now to Hanan Becha. Just a second, let me take the screen back. So Hanan is working for a company called TrackSense in Marseille. She's leading the Smart Containers project within CEFACT in the transport and logistics area. She studied in Canada as well, Mr. Coadier. So she was at the Computer Science, University of Ottawa, where she did an MSc and PhD in computer science. She's been very active in ISO and in ITU. She is editor for several documents within ITUT, and she continues to teach in several universities. So Hanan, shall I give you the screen as well?
Yes, thanks, Lance.
Okay.
Hello, everybody.
And since there are three of us from CEFACT, if you could please try to keep within about 5 minutes.
Sure, I will.
Thank you very much.
So today I will present the Smart Container project within the UNECE transport and logistic domain. The smart containers basically enable us to have a door-to-door tracking and monitoring of the assets. So when we talk about the smart containers solution, that includes the electronic device, having a battery or any other source of energy, the connectivity, all the cloud platform, and the online application to be able to see the data in easy way. So smart container, when we talk about smart containers, it's any type of container with added electronics, which is enable us to know the position, to detect the status of the door, open or closed, at which position, at what time, temperature or any other physical parameter, movement, whether the container is moving or not, if the container has gone under any vibration or shocks, and we could imagine any type of physical parameters to be measured with different type of sensors. The communication, it's near real time, which is basically we get the information based on the service level many times per day. And definitely standards are needed to make sure that we are interoperable. So the project got approved and got the support of different companies by the by the process of the UNECE. So we got the French, Italian, Australian, and USA support to be able to share a common understanding of the smart containers, to define the format of the exchange data elements, and to build a message structure. In terms of deliverables, we are working on a white paper to explain what are the use of smart containers. We deliver as well part of deliverables business requirement specification, requirements message specification, and the message structure to cover the whole data elements based on the MMT reference data model. As today, we have defined 18 use cases. Just to give you an idea of the use cases, estimated time of arrival updates, compliance, basically comparing the physical flow with the financial and documents flow, the calculation of the actual executed transit time, the schedule deviation alert compared to what was planned, the door status whenever it was unexpected, let's say we are not in a depot or one other, and so on. So we have these use cases defined. We could share with you some of the deliverables that already developed, including the description of the use cases later on if you'd like to have more information, more details about the content of these use cases. And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Hanan. So I think that the use cases will probably be out for public review in a month or two, and then everyone can consult them at that time. Do you think in about a month or two that's correct?
December. Definitely, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so next we have other work within CEFACT being led by our Vice Chair, Tassim Khan. Vice Chair Khan has been with CEFACT since the 1990s and maybe even before. He's one of our vice chairs since 2004 until to date. He's also very active within UN Next, which is taking the standards of CEFACT and other electronic business standards and implementing them in the Asia Pacific region. And he's been on the board of that body since 2009 to date. He's also a very active member of the Asia Pacific Council for Trade Facilitation and Electronic Business. He's been working with the Ministry of Commerce and Industry within India, where he's facilitated a number of electronic business processes like e-licensing, e-ports, e-CID, e-CFS, e-air transport, e-special economic zone, net banking, and e-commerce in general within India. Tassim, shall I pass the screen to you, or would you like me to pass the slides on my computer?
Since the slides are not very many, because I was given 5 minutes, so I will prefer you retain it with you and request you to run through 3-4 slides only, just to cover the 5 minutes time. So with you, okay, fine.
No problem. Just give me 1 second. IoT white paper. Okay. Can you see them on the screen okay?
Yes, fine.
Just tell me when you'd like me to go to the next slide.
No, I have lost the slides, Lance.
Sorry, can everyone else see the screen, the slides?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe if you click on the button, go to meeting at the bottom in the bar. Tassim is okay?
Just 1 minute. Anyway, I have a copy with me, so I will run through, no problem. So sorry for taking 2 more minutes additional from you. Thank you, Lance, for giving me an opportunity to speak on this subject. As you see that we have different program development area in CEFACT, and we carry on with our activities for facilitating trade in the area of international trade supply chain. And one of the domain where we take into consideration all emerging technologies for and its integration into our work program is called e-government domain, where we have a project on blockchain which we are concluding, and we are in the process of initiating a new project on Internet of Things for facilitating trade, or Internet of Things for trade facilitation. Next, please, Lance.
Okay, we're on the scope and deliverables.
So the project scope and deliverables, you would find that this particular technology, we are in the process of exploring its usage into our work program. And a project has been approved by the UN CEFACT Bureau, which we are in the process of launching from November this year. The project scope is to define and create a white paper on the collection, analysis, and use of IoT data with a view to examine how IoT technology could be used to facilitate trade-related processes, how existing UN CEFACT deliverables, which my colleagues in the previous presentation has dealt a little bit in terms of our deliverables. So we are trying to explore how these deliverables could be used by IoT applications and examine possible changes to existing UN CEFACT deliverables. The key issues to consider while collecting, analyzing, and distributing IoT data, and the project deliverables are a white paper on technical aspects of IoT and its to UN CEFACT deliverables. And the second white paper is basically we have two white paper containing the project. Business case process oriented white paper on how IoT technology could be used to facilitate trade and related business processes. Next, please. Project focus areas, as we have seen in the last two presentations, that our project aims to focus on the following area, which are really necessary for somebody to really go into adopting this new technology, where a lot of new standards are emerging and are in the process of its integration in various programs. So it's a new technology which we are trying to embrace. So we are trying to see how we can introduce it. Use of IoT with blockchain, artificial intelligence, we feel that these all go hand, these technologies gel together, especially in our program area. And when we do this, we also recognize that it's necessary for us to address the security and identity issues, because a lot more need to be addressed in terms of the security and identity for IoT devices, for which we are struggling to get a lot more standards, which we have heard Professor indicating that a lot more work is part of the future work of other colleagues with whom we are interacting today. And IoT interoperability, of course, is a necessity for our work program, not for IoT, but all kind of interoperability which we look forward by. It is not only that we are talking about the domestic trade, but we are about international trade, where we cross the boundaries and we move from one system to another system. So this is an important aspect. Legal issues that need to be addressed while collecting, processing IoT data. This is more important, because if it is within a country, then the law of the land is applicable. But the moment you cross the boundary of a country, then you have to ensure that whatever you are doing is in compatibility with the legal framework of your trading partners who is from other jurisdiction. So how you mutually recognize each other and the details thereon, that is what is more important for us to address. So this is an activity which is very near to our work program in the e-government domain. And another project we are trying to launch to see that this kind of mutual recognition is addressed not only in IoT domain, but in all other domains where we really interact with other trading partners. Use of IoT in trade and services I mentioned, and we are also trying to understand all kind of case studies which we feel that will give us strength as to really how we use it in our work program. Before I conclude, I would request all those present today is that this project is being launched from November 2018, and I would be looking forward for your participation and other colleagues, those who are not today in our work program, especially in this project, number one. Number two, we are trying to have a conference on IoT for trade facilitation in October 15th this year in our coming forum meeting, which is at Hangzhou in China. And since we have the benefit of Professor Collier and all his other colleagues, that we would be very interested to see that if you and your colleagues can participate in our coming conference, and not only as a participant but as a speaker, so that you enrich our program. And definitely, finally, we would definitely be interested in collaborating with all SBOs on this subject. Thank you very much for your participation.
Thanks very much, Tahsin, Vice Chair Khan. So I'll pass the floor now to another Vice Chair of UNCFACT, Vice Chair Ian Watt, who's also been within UNCFACT for several decades, and also with UNECE for several decades. One of the founding members, along with Vice Chair Khan. Today, he's the Vice Chair in charge of the Buy Ship Pay area, under which the Smart Containers project would fall, but also looking after orchestration of the different domains in between each other. And so I'll pass the floor to Ian. Would you like me to give you the screen, or would you like me to show your slides? Ian?
Lance, you can give me the screen, please. Yes.
Okay.
You able to see the screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. The orchestration domain is a new domain within CEFACT, and it's really looking at what's happening and positioning to take care and cater for these newer things we're seeing, like IoT, distributed ledger technology, and the rise of platforms. The International Supply Chain Program area covers three domains: the buy and pay, and the transport and logistics, and as Lance mentioned, this new one, the International Supply Chain Orchestration domain. We're going to talk about this orchestration domain. Basically, there's a background information to this. Over the past decades, UNCFACT has developed a number of standards, including business process models, XML schema, and core components. The general overarching technical specification of UNCFACT has been the modeling methodology. That's a harness over UML. Was intended to guide much of this work, and the guide has been extremely useful for the electronic messages which correspond to the complete paper documents, the way that the world has worked for a very long time. Today, data exchange is being conceived as snippets of information through event-driven data exchanges instead of exchanging complete document equivalent messages. This is evident in projects such as the reference data models, the data pipeline, blockchain, and the Internet of Things. And Hanan talked of that before, and many of us have, the previous speakers have. These new methods of data exchange require new methods for considering how these exchanges can work together, complement each other for the same transaction. So the scope of the work, the scope of the International Supply Chain Orchestration domain is to support the efforts of all UNCFACT related projects to deliver their semantic specifications in a way that suits implementers of web platforms, pipeline and IoT projects, as well as traditional document exchange projects. And to achieve this, we'll develop an architectural model that presents the supply chain reference data model and the multimodal transport reference data models. It's a complete set of data needed for international supply, a set of granular information resources with clearly defined state life cycles. And for each of these web resources, explore possibilities such as OpenAPI 3 specification that represents resource in a RESTful API with JSON payload and JSON LD links to related resources. And then explore the development of standard event specifications such as those based on the WC3 web sub that will be used to exchange the event messages described in the overall life cycle. So to deliver this work, UN CEFACT Bureau has commissioned a project referred to as the Canonical Model Project. And the project deliverables are a gap analysis and recommendations with respect to any modernization required to existing instruments, methods, or deliverables. Report on the current and proposed use of tools, both commercial and bespoke, as deployed within the work in developing the CEFACT standards and recommendations. And to develop the guidelines and extended deeper use of UMM, core component technical specification, and resultant business requirement specification, the requirement specification mapping, the reference model in terms of process, and the multimodal transport and supply chain data models. And then an executive guide material suited to the communication of the CEFACT capability in standards development. This is bringing exposing the standards that CEFACT develops as we move into these newer regimes and exposing them in a manner that is acceptable and usable by the modern day developer. And thank you very much. That's it.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Lance.
Thank you very much, Ian, and thank you all for UN CEFACT. Maybe a little bit more than 15 minutes. I'm sorry about that. But now let me take back the screen. So now we'll move to ITU, where there's been quite a lot of work done, if I understand correctly, on Internet of Things over several years. And Dr. Hyung-Jun Kim, who's the Vice Chairman of the ITUT SG20. Mr. Kim, shall I give you the screen, or would you like me to show you your slides on screen?
Okay, hello everyone. This is Hyung-Jun Kim. I think I'd better for you to control my presentation because I am at home now, but I have some difficulties to get through the internet. So anyway, please control my presentation by yourself. Thank you.
Okay. So you should see it on screen.
Yeah. So shall I start?
Yes, please.
Okay, hello everyone. Once again, this is Hyung-Jun Kim, one of Vice Chair of Study Group 20 in ITUT. I'm work for ETRI, which is the research institute sponsored by Korean government. I'm at Korea now, so this is late evening, but anyway, it's okay for me to make a short presentation about ITU initiative in IoT. So please move to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, ITU started its work on IoT quite earlier and published a technical watch report on the Internet of Things in the year 2005. Through this report, ITU found that current approaches are dedicated to specific technical silos, and a new approach is needed for a complex system like IoT. This new approach should consider a horizontal area which covers various vertical silos. Next slide, please. To implement this new approach, ITUT set up two new entities, JCA IoT and IoT GSI, in the year 2011. IoT GSI is a package of work to be conducted through co-located meetings of dedicated study groups and rapporteur groups under the umbrella of coordinated work plan to expedite the work in a response to market needs and to achieve a visible focus for the work. JCA coordinates the standardization work across IoT study groups and acts as the first point of contact for organizations interested in contributing to IoT's work. IoT GSI and JCA IoT were excellent and available platforms for implementing this new approach. So through these activities, IoT published WIDOT 2060, the first IoT recommendation on the Internet of Things in the year 2012. WIDOT 2060 contains the definition and reference framework of IoT. Next slide, please. IT established a new study group 20 on October 2015 to implement a new approach considering horizontal area covering various vertical silos. JCA IoT also changed its name to JCA IoT NSCNC, which covering smart city and communities, and the parent group of the JCA had been transferred to the new study group from CEFACT, and IoT GSI had been discontinued. So with the beginning of new study period, which started in the year 2017, study group 20 changed its name to IoT and smart city and communities. Next slide, please. Currently, IoT study group 20 is working on drone for IoT, IoT requirement for edge computing, AI and IoT, smart manufacturing, industrial Internet of Things, blockchain and IoT, IoT for developing countries, intelligent transport system based on IoT, privacy and trust of IoT systems, interoperability in the area of IoT, also the many domains in the area of smart city and communities. Study 20 also believes that the data management is an essential area for IoT and smart city and working on it. Next slide, please. These are some examples of current work item in study group 20. I'm not quite sure exact number of work items, but I believe it's more than 60 to 80 work items. But this slide shows just a typical example of the current work item. I don't need to read all this. So just I'd like to skip next slide, please. The last meeting, very last meeting of study planning was held in Cairo, Egypt, in May this year. We attended 260 members. In this meeting, study group 20 approved one recommendation on the 1 MTM requirement. And also, since the year 2016, study group 20 is closely collaborating with 1 MTM, and many 1 MTM technical specifications were transposed to study group 20. The study group 20 study group contained 20 consented 20 draft recommendation. I cannot remember exactly, and 14 new items were approved. Next slide, please. Since the study group 20 was established, the total 44 recommendations were approved. Among them, 17 recommendations are based on the 1 MTM technical specifications transposed. Next slide. 10 new supplements and 6 technical reports were also agreed. These 6 technical reports are also based on the 1 MTM technical specifications transposed. Next slide, please. These are some examples of study group 20 achievements on IoT. Recommendation of WIDOT 4117 titled as a requirement and capability of IoT for support of wearable devices and related services was approved in October 2017. This recommendation describes characteristics, specific requirements and capability of IoT for support of the wearable device and related services. The recommendation YDAT 4806, approved on also in November 2017, provides a classifications of security issues for the Internet of Things and examines how the security threats may affect the safety to determine which security capability specified in recommendation YDAT 4401 and YDAT 2068 support and safe execution of Internet of Things. Next slide, please. To ensure that IoT recommendation addresses the needs of all the world's regions and to strengthen the regional collaboration within the Study Group 20 on IoT and Smart City, the Study Group 20 organized 4 regional groups: a Latin American regional group, Eastern Europe, Central Asia, and Transcaucasia regional group, Arab regional group, and African regional group. Under the Study Group 20, JC IoT and SCNC are doing coordinating work with other SDOs on topic on IoT and SCNC. These JCA are also developed by maintaining the IoT and SCNC standard roadmap. This roadmap can be freely downloaded and can be accessed. I believe this standard roadmap more than 300 pages. Focus group FDM, which is data processing and measurement, is also formed in response to immediate ICT standardization demands, open to organizations outside ITU's membership, and afforded a great flexibility in their chosen deliverables working method. Next slide, please. Over 20 events were organized on IoT and Smart City and communities. One important event for collaboration between ISO, IEC, and ITU, a World Smart City Forum, will be held in Argentina on 29 November this year. So I don't need to explain all the details about this event, but please take a look at the purpose of this event on November this year. Next slide, please. Okay, that's all for my presentation. Thank you so much for your listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kim. A very comprehensive view of what ITU has been doing in the field. Shall I open the floor now to any questions to any of the presenters? I did have one question for Dr. Kim, if there's no other questions. So,
yes, please.
Thank you. Dr. Kim, when you say smart cities, so Internet of Things in relation to smart cities, is this only in relation to how Internet of Things can enable a city to become more connected, or does it also cover other aspects of Internet of Things that are beyond just a city?
Well, as I already explained you, in the year 2015, the new study group, which is Study Group 20, was created. And the Study Group 20 is now covering not only IoT-related standardization, but also smart city and community standardization. So we are developing a number of technical specifications for smart city and communities, but I believe IoT itself are not part of a smart city. So to establish smart city and communities, many emerging technologies needs to be included in that smart city and communities. So I believe IoT is not only a technology for covering smart city and communities.
Okay, thank you. So it's not limited in scope only to smart cities?
Exactly.
Okay. Were there any other questions?
Can I get in here?
Tassim, please.
I have one query from Dr. Kim, the second one from Professor here. Thank you very much for a very comprehensive presentation. I wanted to give you a little more insight about initiatives of smart cities in Indian context, that this is a massive program Government of India has initiated on the smart city. And will there be a method for collaboration between India and the ITU for this purpose? I do believe that India is a very active participant in the ITU initiative, but I am not very sure about the activity in the area of the smart city, which is a agenda item of Government of India in the context of program. My second query is to Professor Collier, which I understand that in the SC4 in India participate, and will it be possible for you to share with me who is the Indian expert who is participating? Somehow I am not knowledgeable about the person concerned, so that we can even carry a little more of our inputs through him in your work program. Thank you very much.
Yes, it's Francois Kouadi speaking. India is indeed participating quite heavily. It has a large delegation, and we had also a plenary meeting last November in Delhi. So I'll send you by email the names of the contact in India. But it's very active, and India is also leading a study group on swarm computing in SC41.
Thank you very much, Professor.
Okay, thank you. This is Kim speaking. Okay, thank you, Mr. Tassin Ahmed Khan, for your good information. Yes, I know that India is one of the active country for establishing the smart city and communities in India. And also I know that the Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, especially in Asia Pacific region, many countries, also the China, Japan, Korea, we are doing our best efforts to put the smart city and communities. So for this region, many Asia Pacific region countries are now actively involving in IoT study group 20 activities. However, unfortunately, I haven't seen delegation from India to the meeting of study group 20. So in the near future, I really expect that delegation from India would join to study group 20 in IoT. Thank you.
Thank you very much to both of you.
Thank you.
I have one question as well.
Please, Hanan.
This is Hanan speaking. Yes, I was under the impression that you have a FOXA group working in support of the IoT data. The FOXA group on data processing and management. I don't know if you see that very linked to what we are doing or not, because I don't think that you have mentioned that in your presentation. Am I correct?
Okay, thank you for the question. Yes, the focus group on data processing and management is now still working under the umbrella of IoT study group 20. So when you once you enter to the IoT study group 20 homepage, you can see the hyperlink for the focus group on FGDPM. So this focus group is still working. I am not quite sure about its due date, but still is working under the umbrella of study group 20. And we are welcome any interest parties to join to that focus group on FGTPM. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Other comments or questions? Ian, do I see your microphone on?
Yes, it is on, but I don't have any questions. And thank you very much.
Sorry. Anyone else?
So if there is no other question, I was not thinking of taking the floor twice, because I thought I should allow others to make use of the expertise available today. But if others are not there, I have a last query to Dr. Kim and the Professor Francio, that as I requested that we are going to have a conference on 15th of October this year at Guangzhou, China, on IoT's usage in trade facilitation. So we are more interested in understanding more use cases of IoT and see how we dwell with it and how we integrate this, and further other inputs from experts like both of you and others in our proposed project which we are launching on IoT for trade facilitation in November this year, which is the project is already approved by CEFACT Bureau. Will it be possible for both of you or any of your colleagues who can provide us the resources in our coming 14th October conference? I would look forward for your feedback to me, maybe when you apply, take your time and apply to it. I'll be too happy to get feedback from you. Thank you very much.
Okay, this is Kim speaking. Yes, thank you so much for your kind offer. Let's keep in touch via email because we'll have a study group 20 meeting this year at the first week and the second week of December at Wuxi, China. It's an official study group 20 meeting in this year. But you mentioned your event will be someday in November. So let's keep in touch via email. Thank you.
It will be 15th of October this year.
Sorry?
It will be on 15th of October this year.
15th.
I put the event website on the screen if you'd like to see. 15 October.
On the screen. Thank you. Lance has displayed it on the screen.
So thank you. It sounds like a good opportunity for some synergies. Were there any other questions? Okay, I think that we see that there's a lot of work going on Internet of Things, and of course all four of our organizations are actively working on the subject. It sounds like, at least from this webinar, that there's not too much that's overlapping. There might be some work that's similar, and so it would be good if going forward we try to make sure that whatever we're delivering will be compatible between each other so that it's interoperable. I'll pass the floor just to end to the other signatories who are present. So maybe Martin from ITU, if you have any comments, and then Gilles, and then Laura.
Oh yes, good afternoon, good morning, good evening to all of you. I don't have any questions or comments, but I would like to express my gratitude to all the speakers from ISO, IEC, JTC1, Francois on interesting presentation on SE41, to the UN CEFACT colleagues for their 3 presentations, and also to Dr. Kim for his presentation on Study Group 20. Thank you very much for this.
Thanks very much, Gilles. from IEC side, any comments?
Yes, thanks, Lance. This is Gilles from IEC, and thanks as well to all the speakers for those interesting presentation. I think for us it was very interesting to understand a little bit what UNECE and CEFACT was doing in the area of IoT. On the IEC or ISO IEC JTC1 side, we already had a relationship with ITUT as a liaison to SC41. As Dr. Kim mentioned, common activities around smart cities. So I think that was a good opportunity to learn more on the CEFACT side, what is being done. And perhaps, and I'm turning now to Francois here for JTC1 SC41. That might be an area to look at in terms of IoT for trade facilitation, perhaps something new on our side, and see how we could collaborate, especially on the data format, on the semantic side, just to make sure there's some consistency across the various organizations. So that's certainly an area where there might be opportunities for future collaboration. And I leave it to a C41, of course, to look at that. And well, but overall, thanks to all for your very interesting presentation.
Thank you, Gilles. Laura from ISO.
Hi. Yes, I have no comments or questions, but it was a good opportunity for me to see what everyone is doing in this area. As you know, I'm quite new to this group. I agree with what Gilles has just said, that this is a good opportunity for everyone to see what everyone else is doing, and I hope that all the relevant experts can keep in touch using this group, so that we can ensure in future that there is no overlap and that our work complements each other.
Thanks very much, Laura. And so my turn to thank all of the speakers. Kamsahamnida, merci. I know it was very late in Korea and very early in Quebec. So thank you very much for taking the time to join this. We will put the slides, if you agree, on a website so that they can be shared afterwards. And if you, Dr. Kim, I think I was just missing your bio, and Vice Chair Khan, if you could just send me the information, and then I'll make sure that that gets online as well. And I think that this was a good opportunity for information sharing, and hopefully we'll be able to do this again, either on this topic or other topics in the near future. And so with that, if there's no other final comments, Vice Chair Khan?
Can I get in here?
Please.
Thank you very much, Lance, for organizing a very good 30 minutes, and we would be looking forward for similar activities in a regular interval, so that we'll have enough more opportunities to understand with other partners as to where do we stand. I must compliment you before we conclude. Thank you very much.
Okay, so if there's no other final comments, I thank you all, and we'll try to get the recording online soon, and if not, at least the presentations and the bios online. Thank you, and have a good afternoon, or good evening, or good morning.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you, Lance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.